In June 1941, a German Panzer division was stopped by one Soviet tank. Not by an army, not by a minefield. One tank, sitting across a road in Lithuania, turned the German supply line into a dead end. The place was Raseiniai. In the first days of Operation Barbarossa, Germany had just invaded the Soviet Union with a confidence that looked almost unstoppable. Panzer divisions were racing east. Aircraft were smashing Soviet airfields, and entire Soviet formations were collapsing before they could even understand the scale of the attack. To the Germans, this was the war they knew how to fight. Speed, shock, encirclement. Then they met the KV. The KV was a Soviet heavy tank. It was not fast or elegant. It was crude, huge, and difficult to move. But in 1941, its armor was something many German anti-tank guns simply were not ready for. That is what made Raseiniai different. The German 6th Panzer Division was pushing through Lithuania when Soviet heavy tanks counterattacked. Most of the battle was chaos columns cut off, roads clogged, infantry scattered, tanks appearing where German commanders did not expect them. But one tank became a story by itself. Accounts differ on whether it was a KV-1 or the larger KV-2. The legend often remembers it as a KV-2, the massive tank with a tower-like turret and a 152mm gun. Either way, the effect was the same. A monster had parked on the only road that mattered. This road was not just a path through the countryside. It was the supply artery for part of the German division. Fuel, ammunition, food, orders, medical help, all of it needed roads. Tanks can advance only as long as trucks keep feeding them. Block the trucks, and the spearhead becomes a fist with no blood behind it. The Soviet tank understood nothing about German timetables. It just sat there. When German supply vehicles came forward, the tank destroyed them. The column stopped. Men took cover. Traffic backed up. A division built for movement now had to solve one problem. How do you remove a tank that your guns cannot kill? The first answer was obvious. Anti-tank guns. German crews brought forward their weapons, opened fire, and hit the tank again and again. But the shells bounced or failed to penetrate. Against lighter Soviet tanks, those guns were dangerous. Against the KV's armor, they sounded like hammers striking a wall. Then the tank answered. One by one, the German anti-tank guns were knocked out. That changed the mood. This was no longer a normal battlefield obstacle. It was humiliating. A single vehicle was holding up men, trucks, guns, and command decisions. Every hour it remained there, the German advance lost tempo. And tempo was the soul of Blitzkrieg. The Germans tried heavier weapons. They tried bringing up an 88mm anti-aircraft gun, the famous Flak 88. It was built to shoot aircraft, but it could also kill tanks if it got a clear shot. But getting that clear shot was the problem. The KV saw the gun being moved into position and fired first. The weapon that was supposed to solve the problem became another wreck beside the road. So the Germans waited for darkness. At night, combat engineers crawled toward the tank with explosive charges. This was the kind of work no map could show. Men moving slowly through darkness, mud, and fear toward a machine that might wake at any second. They placed charges. They detonated them. The tank still was not finished. Maybe its tracks were damaged. Maybe the crew was stunned. Maybe the machine was wounded, but not dead. In war, those details matter less than the result. By morning, the road was still blocked. The Germans had to build a trick around it. Light tanks began to distract the KV from one direction, while its turret turned toward them. Another 88mm gun was brought into position from behind. This time, the shot came from where the armor was weaker. The 88 fired. Then fired again. At last, rounds penetrated. German infantry moved in. Some accounts say grenades were pushed through openings in the tank. When it was finally silent, the men found the crew dead inside, or nearby, depending on the version of the story. Even the ending is blurred, but the larger truth is clear. For nearly a day, one Soviet heavy tank had forced a modern German Panzer division to stop and think. It exposed a weakness that the early victories of Barbarossa had hidden. German speed was terrifying, but it was not invincible. It depended on roads, fuel, coordination, and weapons that could actually destroy what stood in front of them. The KV did not save Lithuania. It did not stop Barbarossa. The Soviet Union was still being pushed backward at terrifying speed. But at Raseiniai, the Germans saw something they would meet again and again on the Eastern Front. A war where scale, distance, mud, steel, and stubborn men could swallow perfect plans. One tank blocked one road, and for hours, that was enough to make Blitzkrieg wait.